Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council's regular meeting of Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is our roll call, please. Susan, if you would.
Councilor Ennis? Here. Deputy Mayor Budrago?
Here.
Councilor Camillo?
Here.
Donahue?
Here.
Councilor Mankey?
Here.
Councilor Nagel?
Here.
Councilor Page? Councilor Rada?
Here.
Mayor Del Buono?
Here. All right. Next item this evening is approval of the agenda. Councilor Mankey, if you would.
I would move we approve the agenda as posted.
Second. Seconded by Councilor Rada. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Councilor Page absent. Next item this evening is awards and proclamations. This evening we have the Americans with Disabilities Act 33rd Anniversary Proclamation. I will start by reading it into the record. Proclamation. Americans with Disabilities Act 33rd Anniversary. Whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, was signed into law 33 years ago on July 26, 1990 by President George H.W. Bush. And whereas Newington, Connecticut affirms the principles of equality and inclusion for persons living with disabilities as set forth for the state of Connecticut and as embodied in the ADA, the laws of the state of Connecticut and ordinances of Newington, Connecticut. And whereas the ADA has transformed the lives of the more than 61 million American people living with disabilities. And whereas the ADA has promoted equal access to employment, government services, public accommodations, commercial facilities, and public transportation. And whereas the ADA has prohibited discrimination against people living with disabilities. And whereas the ADA has guaranteed that people living with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to participate in the mainstream of American life. And whereas all of Newington's governmental departments work with constituents and residents to bring forth the promise of hope, freedom, and independence that is envisioned by the passage of the ADA. And whereas, in addition, the ADA Coalition of Connecticut, ADACC, has granted funding to provide education and awareness at a celebratory anniversary special event at Mill Pond Park on July 20th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Newington Town Council renews our commitment to empowering Americans with disabilities through equal access so they can achieve their full potential and have every opportunity to realize the American dream, while we hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing July 26, 2023 as Americans with Disabilities Act Awareness Day. Dated in Newington, Connecticut, this 11th day of July, 2023, signed Beth Del Buono, Mayor, on behalf of the Newington Town Council. Seconded by Councilor Nagel. And discussion, councilors. I apologize, I have. Deputy Mayor Budrago.
This is an important proclamation, and the ADA benefits us as a community because we can build and promote a lot more inclusivity and diversity in our community, because people with disabilities are able to, by following the intent of the ADA Act, they're able to participate really equitably in all that our community has to offer. But in addition, we benefit as a community from their talents and their contributions. So it really is a win-win for all. So I'm honored that we're able to read this proclamation into our record.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other council comments? I would just add that while this is a proclamation that we do every year to make sure that we are being mindful of the Americans with Disabilities Act and to renew our our beliefs and our commitment to the ADA. Sometimes when we do things yearly, it becomes almost passé. And I think it's a passion of this council to make sure that that is not the case and that we are continually committed to improving our town and making sure that we are increasing our ADA opportunities throughout our town and our community, and especially our parks. I know Mr. DeMayo's on, and I'll let him speak next, but I know this is a passion of his as well, to make sure that we are always striving to get better in this realm. So I'm really glad that we do this every year, and it is our intent to not ever let this become just an annual act, but something that we are truly committed to. Mr. DeMayo, do you want to add your comments before we take our vote?
Sure, Mayor. Thank you very much. Those were between you and Councilor Bedrego and you. Those were very nicely put words. I want to tip my hat to the council and the mayor, of course, for your leadership in what you're doing to make things accessible in this town. Over 25% of all people in Newington and in the country have a disability of some kind. Some you can see, some you can't. Physical and mental disability. But there's more people than most think. And if you don't have a disability and you're lucky enough to live long enough, there's good statistics show that you'll probably end up with some kind of disability. So it's good to support this type of idea. We want our facilities accessible. You guys have supported handicap accessible playgrounds. You've funded handicap accessible paths in every single park. All our facilities, the town hall, the community center, everything is gone by ADA standards and building standards, which is just fabulous. So my hat's off to a leadership of you, Mayor, and also the town council. And I also should say that our Parks and Rec board also supports the ADA 100% and voted accordingly that way at their last meeting. I also want to recognize that on July 20th, the ADACC, Coalition of Connecticut, which I'm fortunate to be president of, has donated $500 to give first 100 people that show up to our concert on Thursday night at 6:30 on July 20th at Mill Pond will get a free ice cream cone. So, Mayor, I don't know if your schedule permits you or not, but hopefully you'll be there. You'll be there normally to hand those out, and that would be wonderful.
I'll wear my sneakers this time, Bill.
Yeah, wearing those beautiful high heels didn't work in the grass one year. But yeah, we're appreciative. We're glad that Newington has such great diversity. I want to also commend the Senior and Disabled Center with Jamie and Lisa Maston at the library, and Social Services Carol Lebrecht, and for their help too. And we have included them in all of our cooperative programming so that things are accessible and that government is accessible in Newington to all people, and jobs are equal and fair, and we give freedom and independence to people with all kinds of disabilities. And we have universal design in all our buildings as we build them in Newington and facilities. So thank you to the board, to the council and the mayor, and thank you to the Parks and Recreation Board. And again, hope everybody in Newington comes to the concert on July 20th. Certainly there'll be all kinds of fun going on. And also, if I take the time to invite everybody to the Life Being It extravaganza, starts tomorrow night, Wednesday at 5:00, and goes through Saturday. So there'll be over 45 handicap parking spaces, specially designed with the traffic division and the police departments for people with disabilities. And that'll be quite nice. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill. So now we're going to make it official. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Page absent. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so we'll continue on with our agenda. Next item this evening is presentations, and it is mine and the entire council's distinct pleasure to introduce our new town manager, Mr. Thomas Hutka. And I'm going to allow him to go ahead and introduce himself with some of his background and whatever you'd like to share.
Okay, well, I'm very, very glad to be here, and I appreciate the confidence in me that the mayor and councilors put into hiring me into this position. I have, I'm ashamed to say how many years of experience in local government and in consulting and even on Wall Street in support of local government. And look forward to helping out where I can to make a great community, great, keep what's great about a great community and to face the challenges of the future. Met an awful lot of people just in a little bit more than a week. And everyone's been wonderfully nice, and everybody shares a love of their community and a desire to help, and that's fantastic. That's not always the case. I encourage everyone, if you haven't met me yet, or if you only met me briefly, say hi to me, grab me on the street, call, send me an email. Probably if you stop by the office, I might not be there. So schedule a meeting. I look forward to hearing input from everybody. Suggestions, attaboys, even complaints. So I look forward to meeting everybody. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome again. All right, and we will continue on next. Under presentations, we have the Anna Reynolds School Project update. I know Chairman Steve Woods is with us. I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Welcome, Mr. Huckett, to the town of Newington.
Thank you, sir.
3 minutes, right?
Yes, you do.
For you, Steve.
4.
Things are going well. If you went up there, you might not think that. We have 2 of the classroom wings in full demolition and remodeling. 1 is complete. But the good news is we're on track. We are still on budget. We have plenty of contingency money left over. We are about dollar-wise, about 1/3 of the way through the project. So we expended about $12 million and have 19 million to go.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're spending now between 800,000 and $1.2 million a month. So, and that might even go up a little bit this summer. There's a lot going on. Actually, James has loaded some pictures of, I can kind of walk you through them quickly. So this is AC wing, which is the wing that was completed last summer. Okay. The principal's office, all right, the hallway leading down to the principal's office. Didn't-
here. That's a long walk.
Shame, right? This is one of the classrooms up there, and actually, these are part of the old 99 edition, these classrooms. Again, just some of the millwork in there. I wanted you to get a flavor of what was done.
So Steve, is this when you walk in the front door and go take a right?
Door, take a right.
Mhm.
And it is the classrooms that are on that northwest side, which there are only 4. There's 2 kindergarten classrooms and 2 classrooms.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know what every classroom is
Yeah,
for.
right.
There's too many classrooms, I can't figure it out anymore. This is the new exterior of the building, brand new windows. It is precast concrete down below. It's a metal frame around the windows. The roof isn't quite complete here, excuse me, isn't quite complete, but it is now. This is the hallway looking up towards that northwest corridor. So huge difference, huge difference.
This is the hallway that slants down towards the other.
It's the one that goes up into the kindergarten classrooms.
All right.
So there's a slight incline right there.
I see.
See it? There's a wainscoting tile on either side of the hallways.
Oh, yeah.
It is sheet rock up above there. We had some problems in this hallway when we abated the block that was on the walls. It was so abrasive. I mean, it was like 20 grit sandpaper. So there's no way we could get it smooth enough that the kids wouldn't hurt themselves. So we decided that we laminated sheetrock over it and painted it. It was the easiest way to do it. But the children are occupying the space now, well, when school's in session. Actually, I think we're repeating some of these, so you might have gone around.
I just went back to the angle.
Oh, okay. And that is the reception area for the office. Yeah, that's a repeat.
There we go.
I want you. But that's the bathroom in the principal's office. Definitely an upgrade. Interesting colors. I don't know if I would have picked them or not, but there was a lot of discussion and a lot of input from the staff, and this is where they wanted to go with these earth tones. I was somewhat surprised, but it's theirs. So you could have, I don't care what color you want it.
It's done now.
So that's one of the security windows. It's really not set up yet outside, but there'll be a break. They call it a man break, right? So when you come in, they will buzz you in through one door. You are still not in the school. You're in a locked room. And, that will be operational October of this year. Okay. And again, that's the hallway going up to the northwest side. We could go to that's the nurse's room, the new nurse's room.
Well, that's a big improvement. Yeah.
You can go to the Shownox one. This is, we had some trouble up there in the B wing with the floors. The radiant flooring was done in the 50s when the building was built. And for whatever reason, B wing, when they set the copper pipe, it was set a little bit too high. So it caused the floor to crack. And I really got to hand it to our construction manager and construction services group, but really Newfield dug in and came up with a solution. And if James could find it, it's called Shownox. That's the name of the product that we use. So this is preparation. So the floors have been bead blasted to get any sort of remediation out. And there are all those dark lines were cracks. So they filled the cracks. One other one just same fill in the cracks. Now this is the Shownox down. That floor is down 24 hours, and the construction crews can get back in there with their gang boxes, and there's absolutely no damage to it. It cures in 24 hours to 6,300 pounds per square foot. It's almost unheard of. But I want to see that there's a couple more of the process. And it's a self-leveling, so it just kind of pours and goes, and you wouldn't know the floors weren't new. They came on absolutely beautiful. And we were quoted a little bit over $200,000 to do this. That was the initial budget. It came in at like 145, 150.
Nice.
So we saved a lot of money. And again, Newfield found this product. So this is the vapor barrier that goes down first. Well, I want you to see, I think it's coming up in the next picture. So Shownox doesn't adhere to the substrate. So the concrete floor that's there, this new floor does not stick to it. Keep going, one more. I think it's the next, there we go. That's a mat. That's a mesh mat. And the Shownox flows on top of that, goes into that mat, binds to the mat, but would not bind to this table. They even do this on wood floors. So as long as our substrate, our original floor, is not vertically moving, they'll guarantee everything. This will last forever. And our floor has not moved in 70 years. That's how old the building is. So we're very confident this was, an inexpensive fix for a serious problem. If we had to take the floor out, you're talking probably over $2 million by the time the lost time, the concrete coming out, concrete going back in. Now it's new, so you have to meet all the new building codes. 2 foot of insulation vertically down, 2 foot of insulation vertically out. I always forget it. It's in rock vapor. In the rocks. What's the word I'm looking for?
Radon.
Radon. Thank you, John. You have to do more radon protection. And we would have lost months and months and months of time. So,
You
very quickly.
can just polish this or you clean it like a normally tile floor?
There'll be tile floors over all this. this.
Okay.
Oh, on top of
Oh, on
it.
top of this.
On top of this,
It's like a subfloor.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So we could skip maybe to the site work, just get an idea of what's going on. The entire courtyard is still ripped up, parking lot is ripped up, but they're in the stages of putting it back together. They have all the underground work done, so all the piping has been back in place. Our sub drainage is in place. Again, no issues, no major issues. There's day-to-day stuff all the time. I'll give you an instant. We, in B wing, there were some walls that showed on our plans that they're masonry walls. Everyone thought it was probably a 6-inch block, but it was a 4-inch block, and there's absolutely no support in it at all. If I leaned on it, it would have fallen over. So do we try to fix that? It didn't make any sense. So the decision was made because the school is wide open. And I'm sorry, it's not B wing, it's EF wing, which is the one that we have apart now on the east side of the building. They demoed it in like 12 hours. So it all is gone. Those studded with metal studs, and it'll be sheetrock. And then now it's a permanent solution for a minimal cost.
That's the last one in the slide.
Yeah, so you go to site work.
Or site work.
Yeah. Site work.
Site work.
And this is all B wing. Look at this is the exterior of B wing. Since this picture was taken, the glass is all in now. The precast is done. They've started insulating. The panels are not on the building yet. The roof is complete except for the soffits, where it overhangs. You can just kind of run right through them, James. This will be a sidewalk. There's got to be curb board. That's the retaining. This will be a sidewalk. The next one is a retaining wall that's been in place. There'll be another sidewalk that runs parallel in front of the building. That's right in front of the cafeteria.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's where you are. That's where the lull is, the Caterpillar machine. That's the loading dock for the school. That was all the sub drainage that went into the parking lot. We can't discharge water off site any longer, so everything goes into underground chambers now.
Okay.
That's what's done. And 70 years ago, it just flew into the brook. It still gets into the brook. We just can't put it into the brook.
Somehow magically gets to the
I
brook.
figured that all out yet, but those
It costs more money, but it still gets to the brook.
So this is the east side. That is E and F wing. Basically, E and F wing right now is a roof with what they call WTs, which are the supports that hold that roof up on the side. That's it. I mean, if the plastic tarps that were not there, you'd see right through.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing there. But we're getting ready. The remediation is almost done, and then the construction crews they've had prior to school getting out, it's 25, 30. Just before school got out, they went up to 65, 70. They'll have probably 80 to 100 men there.
Wow.
Construction workers, men and women,
Yeah.
working on the site. So they do a lot of work. Again, this will be the bus loop. It's coming up. Again, that's the underground drainage. The bus loops, the buses will come in and out from Fenn Road. So they'll come in Fenn Road, they loop around, and we've separated the parent drop off from the bus drop off, so one can't get to the other. And this is that driveway, so they will loop back and forth. This is actually basically right at Fenn Road.
But they're gonna come back down, come back down onto Fenn?
Yeah, so they're gonna come up,
Ah,
they're gonna come up, and loop around, and right back down.
okay.
That makes sense.
And we're tweaking that now a little bit, and everybody seemed to be comfortable that it was wide enough. Now they don't think it's quite wide enough. So the good news is it's not done. It's
Yeah.
very easy
Yeah.
to make it a little bit wider.
Yeah, so will the other entrance be closed off then?
The other entrance will be the parent drop off, same thing. It'll be a two-way. So both were one ways before.
Oh, okay.
Both entrances now are going to be two-way. Reservoir Road is parent drop off. You come in, you drop off your child right in front of the building, then loop around basically where the buses are turning, but there'll be a gate there, so you can't get through. They'll loop around and go right back out the way they came in. So our goal was to separate.
Yeah.
that.
See when? That's the last photo on that side.
That's one of the biggest issues, I think, at many of our
Any
schools.
schools, yeah, it's just-
Yeah, I mean, you know, no
Mixing
school
it
has
too.
enough parking,
Mhm.
right? And every parent thinks they're the only ones that work.
Yeah. And they're in a hurry.
I tell the story a lot. Lieutenant Jameson, he was at Elizabeth Green one day. We were doing something there. I don't remember why I was there, but I was there for some reason. And this woman came in to drop off her son or daughter. And he goes, ma'am, you can't park there. I'm only dropping off my daughter. He goes, ma'am, what I tell you, you can't park there. You gotta go park in the parking lot. I'm only gonna drop off my daughter. If you get out of the car and bring your daughter in, I'm gonna give you a ticket, and then you're gonna get mad at me.
Is this-
I'm only dropping off my kids. And she went into the building like he didn't exist. He wrote the ticket and he goes, you know, who's jerking out?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. He goes, and that's every day here,
Yeah.
every single day. And I get it, you know, you get tunnel vision. So this is B-wing, correct? So this is B-wing after the floors have been repaired, sheet rock's going in. There is insulation and coverage and plywood covering the windows because there's no glass yet. What you see on the left side is the unit ventilator. So each one of these rooms has their own unit ventilator, so they control their own heat and their own air conditioning for that room.
Oh, nice.
Totally different than what we've ever had. There'll be all shades on the windows when they're done, so the amount of detail that we need today is somewhat frightening. The shades will interlock over the mullion strip so that nobody can see in or out. You know, some of the stuff that we need to accommodate is somewhat scary, but
Yeah.
we have to do it, you know, and we need to make sure that our children are safe.
Will they let in natural light though?
Yes. Yeah. They will still let natural light in. And the shades, to be honest with you, are going to be up most of the day. Each one of the classrooms too has an operable window. So that center window right there is operable. So they can get fresh air. But the unit ventilators also pull in fresh air from right outside. There's louvers on each one of them. You know, just going back together, water, fire sprinklers, all up in the ceiling. One of our battles, we had very low ceilings. It took a lot of engineering on the design team's part to make this all work. And some of it works really good on paper. When you get there, the space just isn't there.
Yeah.
But again, this team that is out there doesn't complain and cry. What they do is come up with a solution and present it to us so that we can make a decision so they can move forward. And I don't have enough good to say about both construction services group and Newfield. They've done an excellent job. Again, it's kind of boring till it's done, the finishes, but you get a flavor. So when I come back to you next time, you know, there'll be pictures of desks in those rooms. The kids will be in there. The colors will be down. Floors will be down. These walls all get the tile that goes up. I think it's 32 inches on each one of the hallways. Then it's luxury vinyl tile in the hallways and regular vinyl tile in the classrooms. And the board will do whatever they want to do down the road. These are like little breakout rooms. You bet that you would know better than I, excuse me, Mayor, you would know better than I am. I'm sorry, I'm out of practice. There's a lot of these little breakout rooms all over the place. I don't know what they're for, but
They're needed.
yes, I'm sure they are.
Mhm.
Good news is I think you might have caught wind and we might have reported back to you, either Councilor Rado or Councilor Camillo, who sit on the committee and have done an excellent job of serving. They make sure we've never not had a quorum.
Oh,
It's nice.
That's
really
speaks
good.
volumes, yeah, good.
It's amazing.
Sometimes we only get four.
Yeah.
So it's, things are really good. They really are. Not that everyone's not pulling their hair out at certain times. But I think that's basically it. There's a lot of pictures in here. It's just, you're just gonna look at sheetrock. So that's I'll give you that. This is the lobby.
Mhm.
There'll be 3 natural skylights in the lobby,
Oh.
allowing light in. Lobby gets turned over, everything goes right, it's on schedule for October to be fully completed, as well as the cafeteria. And that hallway that goes down to the gymnasium goes down the stairs.
Mhm.
That all gets turned back over in October. B wing will be ready for the kids when they come back to school. EF is, I believe, slated for December, so probably right after the New Year break. And again, we're on schedule. I can't tell you that we haven't had problems, but they've been able to come up with solutions with all of the issues we have had. So if there's any questions, oh, the other thing I wanted to let you know too, our construction manager is handling his funds very well. They had a CM contingency fund of $582,000 and change. At the start of the project, they've only expended about $60,000 on it, so they still have 523.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but again, we've had,
Knock on wood.
yeah, we've had some problems, but none of them have been catastrophic. You know, but you would know because I'd be here. Yeah.
It's good to hear when you talk about these groups, the construction groups, they're coming with solutions. Like, that's not always the case. We've been through projects certainly where we're sitting there, you know, racking our brains trying to think of things and figure it out, and it's not always presented with the best option. So that's good to hear.
And I don't want to deceive you. There's a lot of yelling and fighting and pointing fingers, but in the end,
Come up with a
they say,
solution,
yeah, look, this is not gonna do anybody any good here. Those kids are coming back. How are we gonna get them back in this building? And that's what happens. They really do. They meet every single Tuesday. It's a great team. It really is.
Feelings about your leadership, Mr. Woods. For sure.
Well, I do the best I can. I enjoy this, as you know, I really do.
Yep.
I like it a lot. So I'll miss it when it's over, but
We'll find something else for you to do, I'm sure.
it will be over. It will be over.
Counselors, any questions?
Sounds good.
Oh, somebody's got a hand up. Deputy Mayor Badrico.
Just actually not a question, but just a comment. You got our attention in the very beginning where you said it's on track and on budget. So that was like, and then seeing the kind of the new and the creative solutions that were developed for the problems that you encountered really does speak volumes. So I just want to say I was impressed and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, we've got a great team. We really do. From the town council, you guys funded it, right? We wouldn't go anywhere. And taxpayers obviously allowed you to fund it. To the building committee, the design team, the construction manager, the owner's project manager. Again, there's a lot of yelling and screaming, but they do actually work together. And it's really, really nice to see. And everybody's got the best interest of our children, the 400 kids that are going to be in that building every single day. That's what this is all about. And when they come to me with the emergencies, it's really just to make sure that building is safe for our kids.
Counselor Rana?
Just thank you for your leadership. This is my first time on a building commission, so anytime we ever have questions during our meetings, they're answered quickly right then. Somebody has an answer. If not, they'll get it for us. And I just want to echo what you said about the team, the architectural team, the building team. They're tremendous. We get detailed reports every 2 weeks from the group and photos. We got to see them before you did. But it's exciting. It's exciting to see this move ahead and I do occasionally report that we are on track and on budget. So, but we're glad to have you come and I encourage everybody to come out and take a look, see how things are moving forward.
Thank you. I mean, I've come full circle. I was on the board in 1999 when the addition was done there. And actually, my first building committee, I started as the roofs. I was served with Myra Cohen. And we were finishing the roofs on all the buildings in the town, all the schools, the town hall. I think all the fire departments. That was my first
Yeah.
So, come a long way. And unfortunately, the school, like at the high school, I think the new roof at the high school is $4 or $5 million. I think the high school was built for $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So things have changed.
Counselor Mankin, did you have?
Yeah, I
something?
just would add that I think our favorite words are on track and on budget. I think those are the key words here, and I appreciate your leadership. I think you probably sometimes feel like a ringmaster in a circus. I'm trying to keep all all the acts rolling at the same time, but it's easy to say that everything's working together, but it needs good leadership to make it work together. So I appreciate your efforts to keep everybody pulling in the same direction and all the acts, all the balls juggling in the air. So thank you for your help.
Well, as Steve mentioned, like just with that particular flooring, the attention to detail and the quality of the work is really outstanding. I can't say enough about that.
Yeah, again, it's a team effort. It really is. You need to be there to give them the answers that they need so they can continue to do the work. And I think as a building committee, we've been able to do that. We've not held them up. They've got no complaints at all. So we're going good. Anytime you want me back, although it'll be over shortly, believe it or not. But there is still a little bit of time to go. We have another year to go.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me just click my window over here. Next item on our agenda this evening is public participation. Any member of the public, if you're in the room, is welcome to come up. We ask that you state your name and address for the record. And we do have a 3-minute time limit. The bar at the bottom will help gauge that. And of course, there is a timer on the screen. There are some folks online as well. So we will take turns between the in-room and the online attendees. But if you'd like to come up first, you're welcome to.
Bob Tallard. I just have a couple questions for Steve. I have Steve some questions.
We don't do questions, but you're welcome to state your questions and then he can get back to you afterward.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You said, Steve, that you want to keep our children safe. That was one of the most important things. And I was just wondering, because I have a nephew who is a carpenter and he's worked in a lot of different places and they have to wear masks and stuff. And he was telling about all the chemicals that are in some of these products that are dangerous. And I've got another nephew who's an electrician and he tells me about all the interesting things that he has to deal with. And my question to you, Steve, is do you know, has there been any tests? Have you done any tests? Do you have any documentation that any of this material that's in these buildings is cancer-causing agents in any possible way, shape, or form? That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Teller. We do have someone online. If you don't mind, I'll take one online and then we'll come back into the room. So let me just click on here. Mr. Horgan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
David Horgan, 30 Candlewick Drive, also known as the NIMBY of Candlewick. While my remarks tonight are focused on the soon-to-be-built 225 apartments on Culver Street, it is neither my intention nor my desire to debate the merits of the project, because that ship has sailed. What I do wish to discuss is deficiencies in the public hearing process for applications that come before our land use boards. During the public hearings for Culver, the town planner, the former town planner, and commissioners violated numerous local ordinances and state statutes. I actually spent all day today going back and summarizing all the violations over the last couple of years. Then I realized I only had 3 minutes to speak, so I basically scrapped the list. If our new town manager or new town planner would like to see the list, I'd be happy to provide it. In the meantime, as all or most of you know, a resident, not me, but a different resident, has filed an appeal in Superior Court last year regarding the violations relating to the project. About a month ago, just as the appeal was about to be heard by a judge, the resident agreed to withdraw his appeal in exchange for the builder purchasing his condo for a sum of $718,000, which is nearly twice the amount of the very recent sales in his complex. The builder also paid all the residents' legal costs. So basically, the builder paid off the resident an amount approaching $1 million. I'll repeat that, $1 million. Any reasonable person should conclude from a settlement this large that his appeal had merit. So in my mind, this just validates everything that I've been complaining about to you for the last year. While I greatly appreciate the efforts of land use liaisons, Councilors Berjenko and Rada, to address my concerns during the public hearing processes, The violations were never really corrected. So my point really is that not trying to debate the Clover project, rather to put some daylight on the shortcomings of our land use commission procedures. We all know that the commissions consist of volunteers who are not experts in laws or in procedures. That makes it critical that our paid professionals, town managers and town planners, and elected officials be much more vigilant to ensure that all local and state land use ordinances are adhered to be fair to all parties. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Horgan. All right. Anyone else in the room that would like to come up is welcome. Welcome, Mr. Ryan.
Yes. Okay. Hello. First of all, I want to say welcome to our new town manager. Best of luck in your job. I'm sure you do well. I also want to thank former Mayor Woods for his excellent presentation on the Ann Reynolds project. Sounds like everything's moving along very well. For the record, Neil Ryan, 237 Braga Street, still the heart and soul of Newington. I want to briefly discuss the currently vacant National Welding site. Apparently, the town has hired a developer to construct another apartment building on the National Welding site. This is unfortunate since Newington seems to be doing nothing but constructing more and more apartment buildings. Now, a little history lesson for some of you with respect to the National Welding site. About 11 years ago, this town received a $2 million gift from heaven in the form of a grant from the Department of Economic Development. The purpose of the grant was to level the National Welding factory. And this is done because the site still represents a prime real estate location for transit-oriented development, adjacent to what then was the new fast-track commuter bus system. Unfortunately, the attitude of Newington toward the fast-track system was hysterically hostile to the entire project. And the town's attitude could be summarized by comments made to me by a former town council member and a current town council member. They explained with fast track, people from Hartford would take the bus from Hartford into Newington, get off the bus, and then presumably rob a house or a store by stealing a TV set and walking back to the bus stop with their stolen TV and take the bus back home to Hartford. Now, I never heard anything more racist, clueless, or stupid in my life. What's most disturbing about the comment is that it shows a total lack of understanding as to what a commuter bus system is designed to do. Its main priority, its number one goal, is to get cars off the roads. This reduces traffic congestion, air pollution, and it saves wear and tear on our highways, roads, bridges, and our cars. This benefits everybody. And up until the pandemic and lockdown in March 2020, Fast Track was doing very well. The parking lots are full every day, so much so that people are complaining that there weren't enough parking spaces. And yet, despite the success of the project, this town still did nothing to promote any development at the vacant National Welding site. The only action taken was the TPZ declared a 3-year moratorium on any development at the National Welding site, which is totally counterproductive. So here we are in 2023, and the town has decided to build another apartment building on the National Welding site. It shows no imagination or vision. If Newington really wanted to develop a meaningful transit-oriented development project, you just take a look at Hartford's Front Street development downtown Hartford off of Columbus Boulevard. It'd be a perfect fit for Newington. It's not too big, it's not too small. It consists of the Xfinity Music Hall. There's Yukon Barnes & Noble bookstore and several nice restaurants. I was there several weeks ago in the afternoon. There's plenty of foot traffic. And if you think TOD can't work, take a drive along New Park Avenue in West Hartford sometime. Take a look at the Corner Pug restaurant. There's a fast track bus stop right across the street from it. A perfect project for Newington would have been a plus, but it would have increased the town's grand list and would have turned Newington into a destination spot where people come into town to spend money. Conversely, the apartment building won't achieve any of these benefits. Now, I assume a developer is going to receive a.
Just wrap up, you're over by 27
Yes, I
seconds.
know.
Thank
But
you.
there's almost here. Give me time. I assume the developer is going to receive a huge tax break. The apartment building is just going to bring more kids into our school system. And it's gonna cause more work for the police and fire department, which they probably don't need. Anyway, your decision's been made and that's it. That's that. But you have one more chance to get this right. You can support the proposed transit train stop on Cedar Street.
If you could wrap up your comments, rules are rules. We have to enforce them for everyone.
Okay, like I say, you should support the train stop at Cedar Street. A development like the Front Street there would be perfect. Be a home run. Thank you for your time and listening to my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Let me just see if there's anyone else online. I don't have any other hands up online, and there's no one else in the room. Yourself? Do you want to come up? It's up to you. If you'd like to, you're welcome to come up.
Steve Woods, 94 New Britain Avenue. To Mr. Towler's comments, yes, there were definitely abatement done in the building. There was hazardous material in the building. That's one of the reasons we decided to renovate as new. There was PCBs.
He's having trouble hearing you. If you could just, thank you.
Yep, there was PCBs in the building. There was lead paint in the building, and there's asbestos in the building. It is all being remediated. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars testing it as it comes out, retesting it to make sure that it is clean, all by state guidelines. And when we're done, it will be lead-free, asbestos-free, and PCB-free, the entire building. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too. All right, next item is, there was no email correspondence that I saw. Did anyone else?
There was
receive
none, no.
any? Okay. Next is remarks by counselors on public participation. Deputy Mayor Boudreaux?
Yes, this is just, actually, it's from last meeting's public participation. Mr. Tallard, you had asked about Sitco property. So I called our town planner as of yesterday to get one of the latest information. And he told me that no proposals at this point have come forward to his attention or to the town. And the owners, which are the Sitco, are clearing their property. Obviously, you saw the lot, the trees, and all the junk that was dumped there by the public, and that's what they focused on now. And presumably, he feels, there are two options. They can use it for expansion, which he's not quite sure, but that's a possibility.
You say who? Can you give me a name or you say just Sitco?
Yeah, I don't know the name of the owner, but I just asked him about what the plans that came for the project, or they can sell it. And that particular parcel is zoned as business Berlin Turnpike. So it's not zoned residential, it's zoned business Berlin Turnpike, which has its own, I don't have it off the top of my head, but certainly regulations and whatever. Whatever happens though, whether they want to change the zoning or develop, according to the business Berlin Turnpike, they're going to have to conform to the current zoning laws. And presumably, for example, if a business did go in, there are buffering requirements or whatever, due to the proximity of the residential houses. But at this point, he assured me that nothing concrete at all has come forward.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Boudreaux. Anyone else? Okay, we'll continue on. Next item this evening is consideration of old business, and we have the ARPA funds request for emergency management. Counselors, when we arrived this evening, there was another packet on our at our desks for review. I know DJ is online for us. All right, so DJ, I'll let you take over if you want to just give us an update on your proposal.
Sure. So I know that there was a lot of questions, and I know there was a lot of concern based on the town fleet and the number of vehicles in that. So I've done some research. I've tried to answer all of the questions that the counselors have had. I know Counselor Page had asked to kind of get a summary of what's around us. So I've provided that on the first page. I reached out to the towns around us. Because we were in the middle of the holiday week, there were a few that didn't get back to me. But Rocky Hill, you can see, They had a full-time emergency management director. They have since reorganized and have assigned the roles to the fire chief. And the fire chief says, as far as vehicles go, he has about 3 fleet vehicles that are available for use for emergency management. Berlin, the fire marshal's office manages it. The deputy fire marshal is the emergency management director. And he's assigned a vehicle. He has a pickup truck through the fire marshal's office. And that's the only thing he has available to him. There are some town residents, I guess, that have volunteered or offered use of personal vehicles. They actually have a resident that has an old military vehicle that has offered its use in times of emergency. And the town of West Hartford got back to us. They do have an SUV for their emergency management coordinator. Their emergency management director is the fire chief, so he has a vehicle through the fire department. Their coordinator has a vehicle, and then they also have the use of the a vehicle. It's similar to a box truck, but it's more of a command center for the regional incident management team, and that was funded through a grant. And I guess it's kind of been turned over to West Hartford, and as long as it's available for the regional incident management team, they can use it whenever it's not in use by them. So going forward, I tried to outline kind of why we need the vehicles. The box truck, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I think we covered that last time. I did include, obviously everything. So I guess I won't belabor it. The big problem right now is that we don't have a town-owned storage area. All of our shelter supplies are in a storage unit, which we have paid for. So in order to move those supplies, if needed, we don't have any vehicle to do that. We would have to be borrowing from somewhere. And like I said previously, the other town departments in an emergency are going to be busy. So we're trying to increase our self-sufficiency to be able to provide the services that any residents would need, mainly a shelter, without having to borrow staff or reallocate staff from other departments. There is interest in many of the other departments. The department heads feel like it would be a good investment. They would get use out of it. Obviously, emergency management would, human services, facilities, the highway department, the fire department has interest in it as well. So I think it would be a benefit to the entire town to move this forward. There was a request for a what I called emergency management support vehicle. I have, like I said, respectfully withdrawn this request. I know that, like I said, there's a concern with the fleet size. So what we were going to propose this vehicle to be used for, we're going to just not offer that services, and we'll figure out or perhaps revisit this down the road. But at this time, I think it would be appropriate to not continue with that particular proposal. And then the third vehicle that was requested is on behalf of both. It's emergency management, and I do have to, I guess, clarify. I'm asking for this vehicle as the emergency management director. If the fire marshal's office, obviously I would have to go through the fire commission, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes or skirt around anything or see that like I'm being inappropriate. But this would be a vehicle that emergency management has the use of, and obviously also the fire marshal's office, which I happen to be in charge of both, would be able to use. So mainly, the request was for a Tahoe, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the shared service, now that the emergency management functions are are under me in the fire marshal's office as well. You know, it makes sense to share a vehicle. With this budget year, we will be adding, we will be bringing up the staff to a third full-time position. 20 hours of the full-time position will be dedicated to the fire marshal's office. That's an existing position. And 15 hours were added to emergency management. So it will be a 35-hour position. And there is certainly enough work to be done on the emergency management end to fill those hours. So it is a full-time position. The fire marshal's office currently has 3 vehicles. So all 3 vehicles would be in use on a full-time basis. The request for an additional vehicle is because we do have part-time and per diem staff that work. Typically, each staff member is working 1 day a week. So I have, you know, a per diem staff member in the office 4 to 5 days per week, more so 4, but so, and the highway department has indicated that there's not any additional vehicles that they can assign to the office. The fire department has been very gracious. They do have a what I'll call a staff vehicle. Currently, that vehicle is being used every day. So I don't want to get into a debate as to why I think I should be able to use it or why it's their vehicle. You know, Chief Trommer has been gracious when it's available to allow us to use it. But going forward, you know, this is just a need that's kind of been identified. And hopefully we can use the ARPA money to purchase this vehicle. Knowing that this is a hot issue, or, you know, there's a lot of, you know, concern about this. I looked into the other options regarding if this request is denied. And then the only thing that I came up with was we would have to have our staff members use their personal vehicles if there wasn't one available. And I asked the finance director just the process of how we reimburse for mileage. And there is a process. Unfortunately, the fire marshal's office does not have a mileage budget. So it would be an expense regardless. So again, just to justify the need, these vehicles will be used. They're not just going to sit. We're out there, we're doing inspections. And when emergency management needs the vehicles, again, we're looking for a vehicle that could have towing capabilities. So that's the reason we requested the SUVs. So the last, I guess, part of this request was why a Tahoe versus anything else. So obviously we are out in all sorts of weather conditions. The main drive to the Tahoe was pricing. It is the cheapest vehicle going through the state bid process. So you can see, and I'm not 100% familiar with this whole process, but there's different models that are available. So what I believe is the commercial 4x4 Chevy Tahoe package for state pricing in 2023 is $43,000. The police 4x4 and the 4x4 SSV is support service vehicle is $38,000. The Ford Explorer, and according to the highway director, primarily the town fleet is Tahoes and Explorers. You know, Ford Explorer is comparable. It's a little bit more expensive. There are other, obviously, brands. They all fall into a higher price range on state bid. So the Tahoe was the you know, most financially responsible, if you will. And it puts us in line where, you know, again, in speaking with both the mechanic foreman and the highway superintendent, you know, there's a lot of considerations as far as diagnostic tools, training for the mechanics. So this just keeps the fleet consistent, as consistent as possible, where they don't have to stock parts on shelves, buy any additional tools, you know, send out for any sort of special training, you know, considerations like that. And then the last part of the request was to look at the schools, mainly middle schools, but we did meet yesterday with Board of Ed. They provided some insight into the project. There's interest to having this go forward, but the money requested, their concern is not enough. Originally, I had proposed primarily going to the John Wallace School, because that's the only town building with a loading dock. So if we need to receive supplies for or I should say from the state, they could come in with a tractor trailer, offload at John Wallace, and we could distribute from there. There's no generator there currently. There's no hookup there currently. The estimate is the $5,000 request would get us an engineering survey to see, what needed to be done, the capacity that we would need. We were kind of planning to tower only specific areas that would require a extraordinary amount of electrical work. When I spoke with Lou, it was compared to heart surgery. They would have to go into every panel and, kind of pick it apart. It would be a better option to just look at having a generator for the entire school. And obviously, we're not buying a generator. The generator would be hopefully contracted through a equipment company where if we needed it, we would have first right of refusal. We're still working on that. They are out there. They are, either trailer mounted or truck mounted generators that we would be able to bring in and hook up through this transfer switch. So I'll leave that information to the council. If you'd like me to withdraw this and come back at a later date with a better idea of funds, I don't have a problem doing that. If you'd like to treat this as a phase one, have the study done, the engineering done, and then get a true estimate, I'm okay working through that process as well. And I will turn it back over to you folks if there's any more questions.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to open it up to the counselors for any questions or comments. Counselor Donahue.
Yeah, I'm sorry, DJ. I was lost in Brooklyn for the last meeting. So if I'm asking questions that have already been answered, please forgive me. I'm looking at the box truck that you want to share, but then you also talk about storing your stuff in it. So if we're storing stuff in it, how are we going to share it? Wouldn't a trailer be a better option?
So we looked at a trailer. A box truck, to be honest, is easier to maneuver. The storing of supplies would be done when we identified a threat to the town. So we would activate the CERT team and say, hey, there's a potential that we're going to get a significant storm or have to open a shelter. We would prep the box truck, just before that. On a blue sky day, if you will, the box truck would be empty and available for use for any town agency or town department.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Mankey.
Yeah, maybe you should shed some light on the box truck for Councilor Donahue. There was two occasions when I participated as a member of CERT where we staged we moved the cots and the equipment to a box truck that I believe we provided by the Board of Education, and we kept it there. Hopefully never used it, and we didn't have to use it. We had to put everything back where it was, but we would just use it only if we needed it, and it would be normally, because we're in the Northeast, whenever anything sort of comes to us, we kind of know it's coming, like for days and weeks. So we have time to get ready for it. So I guess I would support the box truck. I think it's something that the town as a whole could use. I know Human Services for their food drive and getting supplies from the local food banks, they always have to borrow a truck, and it's always a rickety truck, and it's probably on its last leg. So I think a truck like this could be used by many town departments, and I appreciate the fact that we could all kind of share this one truck, and I think it's something we probably could use. As far as the other vehicles, I believe that the council just approved 2 administrative vehicles for the police department, brand new ones. And I think in our budget, we put 3 police vehicles in. So while there may be no vehicles now, somewhere in the pipeline, there are 5 town vehicles that are being replaced. Right, there's 2 administrative vehicles which we just approved through ARPA funds, and then there's the 5 police cruiser, police Tahoes or whatever they are, Explorers, that are coming offline and could be replaced by new ones. So there will be vehicles somewhere in the pipeline that could be used for other departments, and I think that would be the better way to go. As far as the electrical, whenever I talk electrical stuff, my head swims. So I would rather than do phases. I'd rather get the full price of what it's going to cost and what we're talking about. Do we have a commitment to get a generator? If not, then there's no sense doing this electrical work. And how solid is that commitment? I'm sure there may be a commitment to get a generator when there's blue sky. But if some God forbid disaster happens, every town is going to want dibs on that generator. And do we have something in writing that we get the first refusal? So I would suggest maybe we pull this one off the list and wait and get the full details, what it costs to do the hookups. And it seems like John Wallace would be the place to do it because of that loading dock. I know that would be critical if we were dispersing state provided supplies. If we had a loading dock, that would be certainly beneficial. So that's my 2 cents on the project.
Thank you, Councilor Retta.
Yeah, DJ, thanks again for doing some of this background work and bringing more information to the table for us. I have a couple of questions and some concerns. The box truck, I definitely see the use for, not only during, for emergency management, but also sharing it with other departments, which I think is important. I was surprised that the support vehicle request was withdrawn. And I also have my concerns, and I'm not convinced that we need a new emergency management vehicle, particularly with other vehicles that are going to be coming offline and that could be used in place of buying something brand new. You mentioned that one of the things it could do would be to tow, and just some of the details and some of the information and the use that would be made of this besides just the everyday movement around town for all the fire marshal tasks. Why couldn't the emergency management support vehicle, wouldn't that be a better option and would have multi-purpose use? And then we look to see what vehicles are coming offline from the police department to move into the emergency management vehicle rather than looking at a brand new 2023. And then the other question, I have 2 questions regarding the electrical upgrades and the electrical equipment. When you talk about 2 options and phase 1, would phase 1, are you considering that what you first brought to us at the last meeting, looking at the 2 middle schools, or is that strictly an initial request for a survey and then a report looking at all the schools and then moving ahead depending upon what that report shows? And then the second question, I think I asked this at the last council meeting, rather than, we're looking at big chunks of money and we know that we do have ARPA funds available. What are we talking about in terms of the cost of a generator for the town use, and how often would it be used? What could it be used for, apart from emergency situations, rather than considering having to rent one and make sure that one was available and one was available that would serve our purposes? And that's it.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it, yeah, well,
That's enough, right?
I had my list, I'm good, but-
That was a lot.
Do you want me to respond now or?
If you're comfortable responding, if you have answers, that's
You may
fine.
not remember later
Yeah,
on.
I was writing them down. So the support vehicle versus, so basically the pickup truck with the lift gate versus the SUV. The biggest concern that I have with emergency management is being able to move personnel around. The pickup truck was gonna be designed as a, it would carry traffic equipment, it would carry, cones, barriers, things like that, where in the event of a long-term emergency, CERT would be able to go out and assist and potentially relieve fire department units and police department units. I know the question was brought up that we have a town employee that does that. There's a vehicle already outfitted in that regard. So, I basically looked at the request and said, if I had to lose one, what would be more beneficial? So being able to put in, more people with some equipment, we would be able to use that SUV type vehicle and get like coolers and things like that. It would be big enough to handle the equipment to large events. So that's the reason that I basically picked one to eliminate because of obviously the concern. To answer your question about the survey with the electrical work, phase one would be having an engineer. The Board of Education has a electrical contractor that they use regularly. They also have an electrical engineer. My recommendation would be to move forward because those companies know the systems already. So the thought when I left the meeting was if we took $5,000, we could have probably 2 surveys done on both the middle schools. Or we could focus on one, have a survey done, the engineering done, and then maybe have a little bit of money left over to put towards the actual project, if that's the direction the council wanted to go in. So being that we haven't spent any money yet, that's why I said I can withdraw this and get a true quote for what the engineering would cost, and then get a true quote for what the project would cost, and put a proposal in at a future date. And I'm sorry, I forgot your last one.
It was the question of the generator, the cost of a generator for the town, and what are multiple purposes that it could be used for, rather than hoping for or assuming that we would get a rental at a time of an emergency.
Yeah, so the way that the rentals work is we would have a contract, and we would have right of first refusal. So when a storm is coming, the company, honestly, we're hoping HO Penn would be amicable because they're here in town, would have this, they would call us and say, hey, we're getting a lot of requests. You guys have, we have this agreement, to Councilor Mankey's point, it would be written, they would call us and say, we're getting requests. Do you guys want it first? As far as the need on a regular basis, I've spoken to the town agencies that I think would benefit the most from it. And there's really not a need for a generator that size to power the building. So the price that we would pay for a portable generator, I don't think would bring value to the town. It would sit more often than not, and it would just require maintenance because it's sitting. The discussion with the school, I guess the school retrofitted, I should say the Board of Ed retrofitted the high school with a generator. That project was approximately 300,000, and obviously that's a permanent generator. So I think that if the concern, and I agree that I have the same concerns, we want to eliminate the competition. It may honestly just be a better option if the having the trailer and just the transfer switch is too risky, to look at installing a generator at the school. And again, I can't speak to the price comparison without doing any more research to that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you've had to say and your diligence at bringing all of this information to us.
Thank you.
Counselor Ennis?
Thank you. Thank you, DJ, for the presentation. I don't have a problem with the box truck. I think it could be used by several departments, and your explanation was great. Regarding the emergency management vehicle, I too feel that there's going to be enough vehicles coming offline from the PD that maybe one of them could be used for you guys. I really have reservations using the money to buy another new vehicle and adding to our fleet when we do have vehicles that are coming offline. I'm just curious, you said you needed to have towing capabilities. What would the towing capabilities be used for? Would it be for the generator, towing a generator? Or
Exactly.
what?
Yeah, or the thought was in the future, if the town is truly looking at eliminating or shrinking the fleet size, would a trailer be more beneficial? A box truck for the big stuff, and then a trailer for some of the smaller stuff or smaller incidents? Or, I mean, in the case that, God forbid, we have another COVID where we're doing distributions and things like that, we could get both the box truck and some sort of a small trailer out there, but that would be, future planning.
Okay. And regarding the transfer, the electrical, I too would like to see an estimate of the cost of what the report would cost and then what the work would cost. I think just haphazardly putting $5,000 out there, I don't think is prudent at our end. So I would be in favor of you getting an estimate from the engineers to obtain the report.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Budrago?
Yeah, regarding the electrical survey or engineering report for the John, particularly since we're talking about John Wallace, I was just wondering, and maybe this isn't feasible at all, but we're going to be entering into a very extensive renovation of John Wallace School. And looking at when I was reading through the specs and what do you call this thing? The proposal that we're going to, for the bond proposal, there's going to be extensive studies of electrical studies, wiring, alarms, security, whatever going on anyways in support of the John Wallace bonding. So couldn't at that same time throw in this little survey or engineering report to get some information that way rather than spending additional funds? I mean, it seems like it's the same school, the same skeleton, the same structure. Could we capitalize on that? That would be a question.
Yeah, I don't, honestly, I was unaware until just the day that this project was going forward with John Wallace. So, I have no problem working with Board of Ed. I don't know, I'll take guidance from either the town manager or from you folks as far as how the splitting of funds or monies or whatever goes, but I don't have an issue.
Yeah, if we can get an answer to that from either Lou or Tom or something.
That might be something we can bring back. Counselor Mankey?
Yeah, just not to belabor the point, the electrical again. You were looking originally to do both middle schools with generators if we needed to?
That was the thought. But again, in the discussion, it was more of the preliminary research that was done previous to me indicated $1,500 per school, which I thought was low. So if the request, I basically doubled it for each school. Again, new information from the Board of Ed has come in and they're like, you're gonna be low. So the primary focus now is gonna be just on John Wallace.
Okay. But the original point was to have both middle schools as backup shelters, I guess, is if we needed them.
If we needed them, you know, and it's dependent on, I believe the high school gymnasium as a shelter is rated for about 300 people. So it's just to kind of have backup options. You know, where would we go next? The other discussion, and I don't want to belabor this, is, you know, town hall has never been, I guess, discussed as a shelter site, but with the gym, would town hall, which already has a generator, be an additional site as well?
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I hadn't thought of
That's
that.
that's something we're working on with the emergency planning that we're trying to bring up to speed by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Lou, did you have something to offer? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Yes, you know, just, you know, DJ and I chatting over the last couple days on this. I was just trying to share some of my experiences with the high school project and just knowing what we've experienced on our own generator support activities. And even right now in town hall, I know when town hall was coming online a couple of years ago, the generator only was able to service a limited number of outlets for the third floor and obviously in other locations around the building. So there really was almost like a side-by-side electrical network to just support what was coming off of the generator if it ever needed to be put in service. Now, I don't know what exactly how it's designed behind the walls, but you know, you do have to have a second level of intervention for the power transfer if you're going to do area by area, or if in the event of a shelter emergency where you want the gymnasium for beds, you want the lavatories and showers for the hygiene of the people who are there, the kitchen and the cafeteria open for meals, and all of the necessary egress hallways. You know, you have a decent number of power points that have to be spider webbed into the system. And that would be, you know, much more time and cost intensive for an electrician to build that out according to whatever specs you set. The alternative, putting a bigger, more capacity transfer switch on the building, really you only have that one switch over at the when that's activated, and it just services the building. And if you have to run the building only on 50% power, like you have to shut down the whole west side of the building and you're only going to work on the east side of the building, you know, in order to, that's where the shelter areas are, you know, that would be fine. But it could be a lot of additional effort and, you know, trying to build out a area by area electrical systems or electrical service side by side with how the regular electrical network works. So I don't have anything specific. This is just, you know, I noticed it when I was reading the agenda a few days ago, and we just looked up DJ to, you know, just find out, you know, what was going on, if we could provide any insight for him on this and from what our experiences are. So we would, you know, we would welcome the opportunity to work with him, and you know, there's no objection to the concept of the project and making sure we build in that capacity for the benefit of the town. It's just the most practical way of getting it done at the lowest possible cost.
Okay. Thank you, Lou. Counselor Nagel?
Yes, as I've been waiting my turn, some of the things have been answered that I was going to ask. But I found that your presentation, while you're trying to clarify things, in some cases maybe more confused in terms of what to do or what not to do. Box truck, definitely, I can see the need for that. The other vehicles, I question, and it's good to see you withdrew the one for very reasonable reasons. The electrical equipment upgrades, it becomes, I feel that I can't make a decision on this at this time, given the additional information that you have and that's been presented. And I would like either more specifics to come back on phase one, or more information, or even what's been brought up of going a different route in terms of being able to get this fixed with the most coordination, not making it even more difficult, given especially what's going to happen with John Wallace and a renovation to that. And I feel less confident in terms of the amounts of money, and I feel I'm not equipped to come forth with an amount at this particular time. So I wouldn't be displeased if indeed this was either tabled, or if it was presented in a more definitive package, or with more forethought with information that's been provided just prior with our conversations that we've had. So it's more a comment and where I stand and so on, than indeed a specific question. If there's something I said you want to comment to, that's fine.
Mr. Hucka?
Well, this week I feel a little bit like a fellow bought a ticket to the Ferris wheel, but they're not going to stop it or slow it down. I think Councilor Nagel said it best, is I'm not prepared to make a recommendation either way on any of these items, and a lot of it is because I wasn't here for the groundwork and earlier explanations, but I would very much like to work with DJ and the school and everybody involved in our budget office and highway department fleet to come back with the very best recommendation too. No one's mentioned it today, but a very involved concerned citizen has offered the use of a used box truck to the city. And just today I asked highway department to go out and kick the tires and see what that's all about, and whether it's even worth considering, or more definitively, how much would it cost to bring it up to town standards for daily use. So we, a lot of questions asked today. I have a few more as we go along, again, because I wasn't here to hear earlier presentations, but I'd very much like the opportunity to pull it all in together and make sure all of your questions are answered before you press on make decisions.
Thank you. It sounds like the general consensus, I know there is some support for the box truck, but given just in general that Mr. Hooker would like to have some time to kind of work on things, get some more information for us, there's still some questions to be had. I would recommend that we not take action on any of these proposals at this point and consider tabling all of, move this item to the next agenda, I should say, and just choose not to take action on the motions before us. And DJ, that's kind of a benefit. We don't want it to fail. We don't want to have to vote yes or no if we're not sure. So this would just allow a little more time. We just would choose not to take action tonight. And it would allow us to just have some more discussion and have Mr. Hutka get some more information too. And then we could figure out where we want to be on this next time. Is the council, I'm just going to look for a consensus around the table on that.
I agree.
Do we need a formal motion for that? Okay. So we have a consensus to move this to our next agenda and just not take action on the motions for tonight. But DJ, I want to thank you because I know last time we posed a ton of questions. You came back with a lot of great information for us. And here we are still posing more. So I know it's been a lengthy process for you, but I do appreciate the work you're putting into this, and it's very important. And I think it behooves the point that it's important enough that we're going to just hold off and make sure we have all the information and not just vote no or yes or make decisions that we're not sure of. So thank you for all of your work on this, and we'll move this to our next agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next item this evening, still under old business, is disbanding of the inactive committees. Let me just switch packets here. And so we had talked last time, there were 4 that were brought forward to us. One was the Blight Ordinance Subcommittee, which I think was the easiest one to consider just because the action of that committee, the intent of that committee as it was designed and passed was completed some time ago. So that's the easiest one. Town Hall Renovations Public Building Committee, the 150th Anniversary Steering Committee, and the School Code Compliance Committee still had some things that needed to be met in order for us to be able to move forward with that. So that being said, I would move it over, James, for if you want to just give us an update on where we stand.
Well, to give you some good news, I did meet with Chairman Francolino this afternoon, and she brought in her book and some other information. She's finalizing her report, So we will be able to present that to council and do a disband within 1 or 2 meetings from now. So that'll be a good one to take care of. As you did say, the blight ordinance subcommittee did complete its work in 2016. That one's a very simple one. And if that resolution is included in your packet this evening, you'll also notice in your packet, I also included a list of all of the boards and commissions, highlighting specifically the ones which we've already marked as inactive. We'll slowly go through these, confirm whether or not their tasks have been completed, or if there are ways in which we can consolidate those. And then we'll bring those recommendations forward to the council for action.
Great. Compliance piece, are we still waiting on that?
As far as I know, we are still waiting on that. I think Lou could address that more so.
Lou, are you prepared to do that? Do you want to address that?
Do you know if you were able to complete the necessary paperwork with the state for the code compliance to close that bonding out or capital improvement out?
It may be a
I don't think he's paying
technical
attention.
issue. Mr. Giacomo, are you there? Can you hear us? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Yes, I am here.
We were just talking about the school code compliance committee and whether we were able to disband that coming up or not, and how the appropriate paperwork needs to be filed with the state and kind of where you're at in the process. Would you be able to give us an update on that?
Sure. Right now, I have one old high school project that's still out there, and I don't remember what committee it was assigned to, but it was probably the code project. That was like in 4 or 5 phases over 10 years for all of the ADA work in the building. That was a result of the 2007 audit. And we just finished the last part of it about 2 months ago for actual modification work. It certainly could be reassigned to the general committee for the town just for closing purposes. I will be putting together all the final paperwork over the next couple months with the state and getting everything away for a final sign off. But and that would really be the preference of the council if you wanted to keep it open for that particular purpose. Other than that, of the other projects that are out there, really the only one is the upcoming John Wallace project that's to be considered. And then there's the Anna Reynolds project all by itself, which is with the Anna Reynolds project building committee. So other than that one old code project, we're caught up in working on our current Anna Reynolds project and then potentially the future John Wallace project, and everything else is closed.
Okay, great. So we should just keep this on our list to keep an eye on over the next couple of months as you're able to work through the paperwork?
Yeah, that's fine. Or if you just wanted to reassign it to the townwide committee for closing purposes, that would be fine too. That wouldn't really be a problem as far as I see it. So,
Okay. We'll follow up on that for a future agenda then.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So we do have before us, counselors, the resolution for the blight ordinance subcommittee to sunset that. Who would like to go ahead? Or I'm sorry, there's still a few hands up. I apologize. Counselor Rada, I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question for James. Any update on the town hall renovation?
There will be an upcoming meeting, I believe, sometime next week with Mr. Tomcat, Mr. Salamone, and I believe Mr. is included in on that one to address the drainage issues for the town hall. After that, we'll get a report back to you.
Thank you. Counselor Mankey?
I just would looking through this list of committees that are inactive. I'm amazed with this many committees that just are sitting out there. I think getting these closed out should be a priority. I take especially item 54, the Joint Committee on Community Safety. I chaired that committee back when I had a lot less gray hair, and the committee has not met in
6 years,
15, 20 years. I mean,
No, that one is inactive. We actually got rid of that one, and that's now the community council, the police community council. That transferred to an entire new entity.
But they haven't met?
No, so the grayed out ones, we've already
Close it,
sunset
okay.
out. Yeah.
So I think any committee, any committee that's here that isn't being used, we need to set, just so we can keep our records, who's on what committees.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets way too confusing for each party to try to put representatives on. I think we need to get these as quickly as possible, so.
Yep. Agreed,
But that
yeah.
was why I wanted you to see the breadth of committees that we've had,
Oh,
active or
Okay.
not.
So I would support the motion to disband the blight committee, the blight ordinance committee.
Okay, Counselor Ennis?
so the highlighted ones have already been disbanded?
Sorry.
You should just take them off the list.
But no, I pulled these directly out of our database. So they're not on a so-called list, but this is a complete list of everything that we've had that are available for history since 2007.
Oh, 2000, I was saying that because there's
Yeah,
others
they
that,
go back much further. And those
yeah, I was
have
gonna
not been
say,
entered in the
okay,
system.
that's why I was confused that if
There
they
are
were
a lot
disbanded.
more.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Menke?
Yeah, again, just for the blight ordinance committee, disbanding this does not mean we are not taking blight seriously in Newington. It just means this committee was formed to review the blight ordinance and how it was being used and the procedures and the policies. That has been done, that has been completed. That work has been adopted by previous councils. So I don't want the public to think that we're getting rid of the blight ordinance. We're not. We're just getting rid of the committee that met to make changes to the ordinance, and they've done their job. They've made changes. The prior councils have adopted those changes. So I'm in favor of closing this committee.
Deputy Mayor Pedrejko?
Yeah, James, the ones that are still, are you looking for recommendations or wants to
If you'd like to
close
send
out?
them through, you can. We'll make some recommendations. I actually had done some work for the previous town manager, looking at specific committees that could be either disbanded or consolidated into other committees or combined.
Like the town manager search committee? I would
Well, that is, please.
Well, let's see, don't you have a probation period? No.
No, there wasn't.
No, okay, then disband it.
So you want, if I see some, or if we see something, just to send it to you as a
Just send them a
suggestion?
copy, both Mr. Hutt and myself on it, so that we're both aware of which ones we're looking at, have a conversation on it, bring it forward to council.
Get rid of it?
All right, so who would like to go ahead and
2026.
read the ordinance, the blight ordinance resolution in forth? Go ahead, Counselor Nagel, thank you.
I was there with the creation of it. So, resolved, the Blight Ordinance Subcommittee was created on February 9th, 2016, under Resolution number 2016-28 for the purpose of reviewing and considering amendments to Chapter 182, Blighted Premises of the Newington Code of Ordinances, and has completed its intended task. And the Newington Town Council received the proposed recommendations from the subcommittee during the July 12th, 2016 regular meeting. And on August 9th, 2016, the Town Council scheduled a public hearing to take place on September 13th, 2016, to receive comments from the public on the proposed revisions to the ordinance. And the Newington Town Council on October 16, 2026,
Oh, that should say
2016.
Yep.
All right, we're moving ahead here. Adopted the final ordinance language as revised. The Newington Town Council hereby moves to dismiss the current membership and disbands the Blight Ordinance Subcommittee.
Seconded by Counselor Raddick. Any further discussion, counselors? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Page F. All right, we are moving now into approval of minutes. We have two before us. I would entertain a motion to approve the June 27th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and the June 28th, 2023 special meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Counselor Menke, seconded by Counselor Nagel. Any discussion, folks? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, or I'm sorry, 8-0. Counselor Page absent. Next item we're moving into is new business, and we have before us this evening the AMR services contract. As you remember, we've had an agreement in place. Attorney Palomino has been working on behalf of the Newington EMS and their committee to outline a new contract with AMR for emergency medical services. That began July 1st, 2023. The original contract was executed with AMR in 2019, but expired on June 30th, 2023. That contract included language to allow for services to continue in the event that the successor contract was not executed prior to the expiration. So we are still in receipt of those services. The proposed changes in the contract are the term 2023 through 2026, a 3-year term, and under Exhibit 2, number 5, compliance plan. The expired contract and the draft proposed agreement have been supplied to Attorney Ancona for review and comment prior to the planned adoption. And you, James, you indicated that he had already reviewed them and was.
Attorney Ancona has reviewed it, responded back that everything looks good.
Is there anything else, James, that you want to add regarding this item?
With any luck, with the leaving of the chairman from the NEMS committee, we're hoping to hold a meeting this month prior to the adoption by the council on July 25th, so they actually have the ability to review it completely. This came forward from the vice chairman who took over upon Mr. Ziegler's resignation. So he did have time to look at it already. It was supplied through AMR, the gentleman's name is Chris something. The language appears to be in place. They did comment on the fact that they would be looking in 2026 to renegotiate the full contract at that time. So this is effectively an extension of the current contract in place as of June 30th. But beyond that, everything goes smoothly and we get a meeting in place.
Okay. Counselor Annis.
Thank you. I have 2 comments. Term, paragraph 11 on page 3. Shouldn't the term expire on June 30th, 2026 and not July 1st, 2026? And then under to be renegotiated, shouldn't it be January 1st, 2026 and not January 1st, 2027?
Where is that one, Carol? I'm sorry.
11.2.
11.2, thank you. So you're saying it should, yes, January 1st, 2026. Yep. Good catch, thank you.
Nobody caught it.
Counselor, Deputy Mayor Draco.
Yeah, James, can you just, it says that there was a change to the compliance plan, number 5. Can you just tell me what that was?
So under the original compliance plan, they had, hold on, pull it up. They had standards that were put in place based upon the issue we ran into originally regarding time of service exceeding the requirements. And we have I believe it's a 15-minute limit window, and that was where we were assigning fines to them. If you recall, in I believe it was 2018, we got an agreement in place to minimize those. I believe they paid out 100 out of the 200,000 plus to bring everything up to snuff, and they added in a secondary ambulance to the town at that time. And at that point, they haven't had any issues with compliance so far.
Right, but what's the change here? It says that there's
that was the change. So what they did was, in a second, I have to pull that from February of this year.
Was section 5 added, or is that,
No, Section
it's
5
just
was in the
revised
original
language?
contract. We just made, of course, I don't have it on this drive.
Well, if we don't have the answer tonight, we're not looking to take action, but if we could get that answer. Yeah.
Now, I want to say, can you open your K drive for me? I believe I actually added the old contract into your files as well.
Into mine?
Everybody's.
Everybody.
So your share folder that you have for the meeting should have a copy of the old contract as well as the new.
You're asking for a lot, James.
Normally I would have it, but I
No,
don't have my laptop on.
I'm getting there. I just have to close like 8 windows. Hold on. All right, so I'm in the K drive, so the council folder. And where am I looking?
Should be on the July 11th meeting. Should have 2 sets of minutes in there, copy of Mr. Giacomo's memorandum, the packet, as well as 2 contracts, one that says 063023 and then one from 2019.
All right, hold on, say that again. I just got into the
On the
7/11,
July
2023 regular meeting. Okay, now where am I going?
You should, in that folder, there should be, I believe, 6 files, 6 or 7 files. July 11th, 2023. Yeah, clicked into there.
It just opens up to the agenda.
And I was gonna put it into the packet.
So sorry, sir.
No, you don't have all of them. Interesting.
Not a big deal. We can get the language for
Just
next
get
time.
the next time. Fine.
Yep. We'll have to get a new revised contract with the new dates. And then the answer to your question in terms of the change in the language, the specific change is fine.
Yeah, but that was what it related specifically to. I will confirm why that's not going up in your folder.
I just have to get back into my. Oh, we'll figure it out. Okay. Here, full screen. There we go. All right, so we have those questions. You're gonna run through the date questions as well as the compliance language change. And we'll report back next time and then we'll be able to take action if we see appropriate.
There's issues with the contract.
You okay down there? We good?
Mhm.
Do you have a question or no?
No.
Okay. All right. So we will continue on to the next item under new business is the John Wallace bond language. And I'm gonna turn this one right over.
I am lucky because I do see Mr. Patel from the bond council on there,
Oh,
but
wonderful.
if something does come up, we do have our backup.
Great.
So, what is before you this evening is a decision. So if you recall, on May 9th, the Board of Education came to the council, discussed the John Wallace project. And there was an estimate that was presented. You actually have a copy on your table this evening with an estimated cost of $10,717,573 with an estimated 57% reimbursement to the state of Connecticut. You'll notice in the bond language that is supplied to you this evening, those dollar amounts are blank. So just as we did with Anna Reynolds, I'm not sure if you're looking to do a 50-50 split on that, if you're looking to come in at a higher number, Mr. Giacomo can address the timeline of the project and some recommendations and discussions we had, whether it would be a staggered 3 terms or a continuing term. The escalation costs do go up based upon that. So if it's over 3 terms, school's in session, coming back in the next one, we're looking at escalation of costs for materials, time management, and you're not going to find many contractors that are going to lock themselves in that far out. So that may see a change in the anticipated cost escalation, as you'll see on the sheet under line 3, technically 4, which is currently about $1.2 million. So I'll turn that piece over to Lou to just address how he sees the project going forward under the school system, and then we can have a discussion about an overall cost.
Perfect. All right, Lou, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Okay. I'd like to start with just a quick review from May until now to update everybody on what's transpired. When we presented the cost estimate in May, we had not finalized the grant application. And that had gotten in by June 30th. So everything is full speed ahead from that perspective for the referendum in November. We also had an informal review of the project up at the State Office of School Construction Grants, just to make sure we vetted all the key important points that they would want to be aware of, and that they looked at the cost estimate and the other assumptions that we're building into the project as being reasonable and appropriate based on what they knew. And we did just fine during that. They had no issues with any of our cost estimates or not. The only outcome of that meeting was with respect to any PCB contamination that'd be in the wing. And we pretty much think that's going to be just confined to right around the windows and the caulking for the whole area. That if the state gave us a grant, the expectation would be that we would deal with all the PCB. We couldn't cherry pick and work around any existing hazards that are there. We have to deal with all of them. And that really is the only caveat that they had. You know, we had provisions built into our cost estimate to address that, given worst case scenarios. But that has to be a mandatory part of the project, which, you know, is not unexpected. Okay, so moving forward, I know Dr. Brummett has reached out and has been in contact numerous times with our local representatives about potential bonus funding on this project. You know, providing it passes a referendum and, you know, is moved on to the General Assembly in the month of December. What we know at this time is that any decisions about that bonus funding will happen as part of the legislative session starting next December. And what we see published probably 3 weeks to a month before the session finishes is the anticipated list of all the projects that they're going to bring forward for consideration for funding next year. So we will not have a definitive answer on if the bonus funding component of this will be available to us until next spring sometime. So we're going with the 57% number that is guaranteed in the publications of the state as far as what our eligible rate is. And we'll move forward on that basis. And if we get the bonus funding, you know, that'll be a benefit for all that's there. Okay. As a result of, you know, how smoothly things went the first time, there's no change in our cost estimates. You know, everything is, you know, numbers are solid, no change in our scope other than the PCBs have to be dealt with. So we haven't discovered any issues or any other concerns. The biggest benefit in the project is right now between contingency for the owner and the escalation, there's about $2.5 million of the 10.7 million estimate that is wrapped into those two amounts. So the overall project right now is roughly $8 million before those factors kick in for the contingency. There will be some contingency, but the really good part of it is we have 3 cookie cutter wings at the school that are, I'd have to say, are 90% just like their 2 peers that are there. So there won't be a lot of opportunities for undiscovered conditions or things we hadn't anticipated. It should be pretty smooth and pretty easy from a architectural design standpoint because the issues they have in one wing will replicate themselves in the second and third wing. And there really won't be 3 unique sets of characteristics they have to deal with. The design of the project at this point that the cost estimate was built on was that it would be done over 3 consecutive summers. You know, so it starts the day after school gets out, roughly 5 to 6 month period to get that done, which will take us to around Thanksgiving, and then a hiatus until the following June. You know, rinse and repeat and do that again for the 3 summers, 3 consecutive summers. That obviously leaves the gaps of time in the project, which creates the need for the escalation. As the project moves forward, and if it does get approved, we would recommend that we try to compress the time frame as much as possible, depending on when approvals are there, so we can squeeze out as much escalation money as possible to try to work within the original estimate of $10 million that we were discussing. For now, in presenting the 10,000,007 for consideration is the facts of the information we have in front of us and our best estimates. And certainly as the town council deliberates over the next few weeks on this and pegs a final number for us, this would, be our starting point. And, the judgment of the group, certainly, plays an important part in this. But would like to, thank you all for your time and your consideration of this request. And, I'm sure we'll make this a real good project for everybody in town. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Lou, just to clarify, so in terms of the escalation piece, if it is a multiple phase project that is spread out over 3 years,
Mhm.
and you're saying you would like to compress the timeline, is that feasible in terms of moving students around and making that work if we continue the projects?
Yes, it
we
is.
finish one in November and then we just shift into another wing?
Right, we would just immediately start the second wing at that point. If we're out of one wing in November 30th, December 1st, we're starting, phase 2 on it, or maybe we have to do it over vacation week just to get the proper transition in place. And then we would, if I think of how we would schedule it, is we would try to run parts of at least 2 wings concurrently over a summertime. So if one is finishing sometime during the summer, we'll have the next wing start concurrent with that. So we would get a 2-month head start on finishing that one. So it just takes more time out of the overall project. As I had my own, just notes on the simulations of this. And if we went with the 1 wing per year for 3 years, we would be finishing up around Thanksgiving in the year 2027. If we go with really our most aggressive feasible schedule, we would be finishing up around the end of 2025, maybe a little bit into January of that year, depending on when we actually got started. So we'd be able to compress out about 18 months of time in the construction schedule by going in this fashion. So that would turn into real money based on how the project was initially laid out.
Right. I mean, that certainly in my mind seems favorable. One, for just wanting to get through the project and get it done and know that, we've addressed those issues. And 2, certainly if there's a cost savings to it, in addition to making sure we're getting where we need to be, that would be a benefit as well. Could we plan for those savings, or is that something we can't really plan for at this point in terms of the escalation piece?
On the escalation, well, we would get the this cost estimate updated again based on what we want to do for the final version of the plan. So if I'm looking at the copy of the cost estimate right now, showing the cost escalation out to 2025 at $1,045,000. If we're able to knock off around 18 months of time in the project, we might be able to cut that number in half. So something like that. I don't have a specific here. We'd have to rerun the simulations based on, what we can achieve and how we can get it done. So.
And is that something you could rerun and get us numbers on before we pass the bond language?
Sure.
Or is that something that has to happen later?
Correct. No, I could ask the architectural firm who did this for me to, I'll give them a couple of different scenarios, because one of the important parts of what will be the start date. If we look at the presumption that this will pass General Assembly next year, we'll find out somewhere around, June 1st, maybe a little bit later, that the project's going, or it's made it through the legislative session, has been funded. If we take advanced measures for starting the architectural work sometime after the project goes to the General Assembly, where we have reasonable assurances it's going to move forward, and really have the architectural package ready for bidding, so when the notification comes out that we can proceed, we can immediately go to bid at that point. If we, take the approach of taking a much more conservative stance, where we won't start the architectural work until we have the state letter in our hand, it'll just add time, and we'll be much closer to the, end of that not 20, it will end up being in Christmas 2027. It would be, maybe, summer of 2027. So, adjusting the start or accelerating the start date will definitely help, and compressing the construction schedule will help. So it'll have to be a combination of those two issues. And, certainly all those decisions about the comfort level of moving forward by the town council without having that absolute authorization in hand from the General Assembly will really be just a matter of the comfort level of the council to move forward at that point. If they say, no, we'll wait until, we get the letter from the state, or we're okay with going ahead with the architectural because we know this project is going forward and we're not worried about that. All that will end up working out fine for reimbursement and stuff. That won't be an issue. So
Okay.
those are just the, the timing and, certainly trying to do the best for the community and compressing the time, does have those two elements to it. And, working with the contractor and designing the bid package will compress the time out of the construction work. But if we have any ability to compress the time on the architectural plan development would be, a tremendous help for also achieving that.
Okay. Counselor Menke?
So right now, the total cost of the project is $10,717,000 and some change.
Correct. That's the cost estimate as of right now.
Okay, I think my sense of the council is that we wanted to get this done consecutively as quickly as possible. We didn't want to wait 1 year and then wait the next year and then wait the next year. I think our sense was we wanted this to happen concurrently. So it's the minute you finish one wing, you start the next wing. I know that it poses more trouble to the staff there to try to juggle kids around, but I think it's critical and important. I think the council understands that it's critical and important, and we supported this as critical and important, that we get this thing moving and we do it as quickly as possible. And we've done everything we can to move this forward as quickly as possible. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's the process.
Yeah.
My other question, I maybe to the council is just when do we send this to the new public building committee to then start looking at?
Right.
We have a building committee already set up, and do we send it?
Anytime you'd like
now?
to, I'm more than happy to, educate them on all the elements of the project and go through all the details, get them up to speed as quickly as you like. So that'd be really, you tell me when you want me to be there and we will take care of it.
Maybe the thing after we have take our next vote on the 25th of July, then we send it to the public building committee at that point.
I'm looking at James to see what the process is.
25th, we're scheduling the public hearing for August 8th for passage of the bond language to supply to the state.
Right. I got you. But then that's a logical point then to send it to the committee to start looking at it. I mean, we don't have to wait till next June to say, okay, we got the funding, we're ready to go. Now here's the project, go ahead with it. They need to do some legwork to start with. So I think we should start it as quickly as possible. So I would suggest we.
Do we send it prior to referendum?
Yeah, we have to.
Previously.
Okay.
The difference with that is we usually have some funding that we put forward with that for architectural services. We didn't put anything into this year's budget because this didn't come in until May 9th for discussion.
Right.
But I still think we can send it to them. They can do preliminary work and just
Get familiar with
get
it.
up to speed by Lou and see what the project is.
We'll educate them.
Yeah, they need to be educated.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Vedrego.
Yeah, well, I just have a, more for my own edification. In reading the resolution, I know this is for the 3 wings and it's going to be basically, gutting and renovating. So installation of information technology, projectors, monitors, electrical, whatever. But I have a question further down. It indicates that this project is also going to be for site improvements and the purchase and or installation of equipment, fixtures, furniture, and other materials, including without limitation, media center equipment. Are you building a new media center in these 3 wings, or is this for the school overall?
No, it's not for the media center. I reviewed this a week or so ago And I thought I scratched that out for media center. I'd have to go back and look at my edited copy that I sent out to Jim and then to Mr. Botello. And yeah, there's media center equipment would not be part of that. It would be classroom furniture, not media center equipment.
It's, I think, item 13 through 15 or whatever. So, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other council comment or question on this? All right, then we'll move to our next agenda for setting the public hearing. All right, thank you, Lou.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, have a great evening, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
You too.
Take care.
All right, we are through with new business, so we are moving in now to written and oral communications from the town manager.
If, with all due respect, not this week, but thank you for the opportunity.
And next is council liaison committee reports.
Good. I gotta ask James a question.
Sure.
Alumni Road. Did you hear anything on Alumni Road?
I believe Mr. Dean has signed off on his traffic review, and I believe that Chris has signed off with the state. They're just waiting for the official certificate for report.
Because I'm very excited about having more construction equipment on.
Yeah, we'll follow up with Chris in the morning.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Draco?
Yeah, the TPC meeting, there were three pretty interesting pre-applications discussed. And I want to just make everybody clear, these are pre-applications, nothing binding, nothing decided. A pre-application is simply when an applicant has an interest in doing something, they come to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission and kind of get some feedback and, figure out, they get feedback on what some of the restrictions or concerns might be or whatever. So these are just, nothing has been decided. But one of them was for a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts at the Cedars, on the corner of Cedar Street and Constance Lee, the old Santander Bank. The discussion was kind of interesting because it would require a special exception or zone change, because currently drive-throughs in the town center are only allowed for banks, dry cleaners, and pharmacies. So
I thought
I thought originally that.
It was a dry cleaner originally.
Yes, it was.
Zeus, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we took that out though. Maybe we
So,
didn't.
And the discussion, just general around traffic and, walkability at the, town center, whatever. And the Dunkin' Donuts developer expressed interest in the property, but it's contingent on an awful lot of issues, and it would have to, go through the zoning or ZBA. The second pre-application discussion was for Payne Road for a redemption center for the return of recyclables. And this is, it's kind of like, it's going to be a business where, we could bring our, bottles and cans or whatever, and get our, 5 cents or whatever, 10 cents now. Then the center would sort it and package it according to different criteria. And then the center would take it to some already established distributors in the state who would pay the center a handling fee. So there were just some discussions about, rodent control and, how much business would be generated every day. Again, it's just a pre-application. And then the third one was on Kitts Lane. I believe it's the old VFW building for an event space. So it would just be, it wouldn't be a restaurant, but it's an event space for like baby showers or anniversaries or graduation dinners. So again, it's just interest expressed in those possibilities for those locations, but not formal applications haven't come through yet. Great, thank you for the update.
Anyone else? Counselor Donahue?
Yeah, NCTV, Sandy and I attended the ACM, Alliance for Community Media event in Brooklyn, which is where I was lost for 2 hours in Brooklyn last 2 Mondays ago. And it was interesting to see. I mean, there was there was a station that traveled to the show in Brooklyn from Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
There was a station that sent 6 employees, you know, and they have a $500,000 a year budget, and they're complaining about fundraising. And when we sat around the table to talk about it, they said, well, what's your budget? I said, well, it's like 24 grand a year. And it was just, they were quite impressed with what we do with an all volunteer network. And then we also spoke at the Castus presentation about data analytics. And we were just there to say, yes, we see the analytics, but we have nobody to capture them. So all in all, it was a good conference.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will continue on to public participation. Any member of the public may join us. There's no one online.
Except that pesky NCTV people, they never go away.
I don't know if you heard him, he asked if you wanted to cough drop.
No, I'm fine. I think.
I don't know what it is, but every time I walk into this room, I don't know if it's the carpeting or the chemicals they put down, I have to pop cough drops. I had to go outside for 15 minutes just to be able to, I don't know.
I think it's just allergies.
I don't know, but I don't have any luck walking into this room. It doesn't like me. I'd like to address the new town manager.
You can address whoever you like, just people won't engage in conversation at this point.
This is an article from, this is dated, okay, Bob, where's the date? It's Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. And this had to do with, and David Horrigan has called in about this. A lot of people had protested this. This is the Culver Street project in back, and he had talked about a couple of buildings being back there, 255 apartments, about 5 stories high. And many people were against this. And they talked forever and ever and ever. The Republican-controlled town council and the Republican-controlled TPZ totally ignored everybody. Totally ignored everybody and went through it. They even passed special zoning regulations, excuse me, to get this through. And William Sweeney, who was the attorney for A&R Building, that's the name of the company that's pushing this through, that I've been back there and I have people, I used to live at Cambridge Arms and back of Culver Street there, it's the back of like Walmart in that area there. And there's beautiful woods back there. It's so serene. And I used to live at Cambridge Arms. It's very majestic. They're gonna knock down all these woods and they're gonna put a driveway, because I went through that site with some people. I contacted them and we walked through there and they told me exactly what they're gonna do. All these woods are gonna be knocked down. And they said Cambridge Arms, which is a beautiful place. I don't know if you've ever seen, I've seen it. The town manager, because I know you're new and you're still feeling your way around. I get that, I understand that, it takes time. And so they're gonna knock down all these woods and the people were mad as, I won't use that word, but they were upset that they're gonna knock down these woods and put a driveway where they're right across from where their apartments are, where they would take walks. It's beautiful. I think when you're in touch with nature, you're in touch with God, in my opinion. And it's so beautiful and tranquil. And all these people, as you can see, I wrote a few notes down. And there's more. I got a packet back there. Most of it involves this, and this is what got me upset and got me more involved within the town, is when something like this happened and Dominic Payne, who was TPZ chairman, just totally ignored everybody and just pushed this through, which was very upsetting. And the onslaught of the apartments and projects that are going on in the town of Newington. If you drive on Cedar Street between 3 and 5 p.m., or now probably 3 and 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, it's like a war zone on Cedar Street. And they're putting apartments up there and they're putting a hotel, and it's absolute madness. And I'm telling you this as a concerned citizen. I've been living in the town of Newington since 1956. My mom brought me here, and my dad when I was 5 years old. And the reason why, because the schools are very good in the town of Newington. And that's the main reason why she brought me here and my brother here from New Britain, mainly because of the schools. And it was a quiet town. Well, the town is no longer quiet. There's more construction going on. I don't know. I think Dominic Payne's.
Respectfully try to wrap up. You're over.
My advice, well, my input to you, my advice, whatever, is that there needs to be a moratorium on the amount of construction going on after all this is said and done, because there's going to be 3, 4, maybe 5,000 more people into the town of Newington pretty soon, and who knows how many more cars. And Cedar Street cannot handle it now, let alone 3, 4, 5 years from now. I hate to see what's going to happen. It's going to be ugly. And I'm imploring you to please try and put a halt to this madness. I call it madness because it's going to be crazy.
Minute 16, you're over. If you could please wrap up, and you could certainly contact the town manager with more concerns.
I encourage that. 3 minutes.
Yeah, geez, I don't have my card with me, but yeah, okay. Dory, I'm taking it easy. Take it easy. Everybody's worried about me, but that's it. And I would like to make an appointment to talk to you personally on this, okay? Yeah, because I have a lot more information. I got a stockpile of documents for you. Thank you very much. Sorry to go over, Mayor. I apologize. I have a lot to say.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. Any remarks by counselors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Menke, seconded by Counselor Anist, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Page absent. We stand adjourned at 9:20 PM. Thank you, everyone.